Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. This is going to be a guide on how to plant and take care of and harvest potatoes in Farming Simulator 22. So we're going to go through this step by step. You should know everything you need to know by the time we are through with this. So we're again just going to take it step by step. So first things first, step one is field prep. You have to make sure the field has been either cultivated or plowed. If you are playing with plowing required or periodic plowing required, you will have to plow every harvest of potatoes, or after every harvest of potatoes, because that's just what's required with potatoes as a crop. If you don't plow, it will cause a 15% deficit, but again, that's only if you're playing. If we go into our settings here, go down to the bottom here, if you're playing with crop or not, sorry, periodic plowing turned to on, which we are. So periodic plowing turned on, you need to make sure you plow every harvest. Now, in order to tell if you need to do that or not, it's very easy. If you go in here, we can take all this off. That red space, or what's highlighted red, has plowing required. So plowing needs to be done there. If it is not red, you don't have to plow. So our field here, 33, which we're working on, does not need it. It's already been plowed, so that's been taken care of. So that's the first step. Now, after you get that done, one thing you need to take care of is liming. So if you are playing with, again, if we go back into the menu here, we go down to the settings. If you are playing with lime required and that's turned to on, you need to make sure that you lime every 3 harvests. So lime every 3 harvests. Now, if you want to know where you're at, or as far as if it's required or not, or you need a lime, go again back up to the map here, turn the plowing off. We can look at lime. So anything that is kind of that tealish green color there, that requires lime. So field 33 has already been limed. It's taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. So once that's done, we are good to go. Now, the next thing we have to do is actually seed this field with potatoes. So we actually need to plant the potatoes in this field. So what you need to use is a potato planter. So most planter seeders will not do potatoes. So you need to, and again, we're only using base game equipment in my tutorials, but you'll find a potato planter if you go under tools, potato technology. We have these 2 options in base game. So we have this guy right here, which requires 150 horsepower, will hold 2,665 liters of seed, and will plant, well, potatoes down here at the end. And it says it will take seeds or potatoes, and we'll talk about that in a second. It does run at 7 miles an hour, 3-meter working width. Then we have the bigger one here. Again, everything's the same except bigger capacity, a little bit more horsepower, and it's 6 meters now instead. So you need one of these 2 guys. So if we actually hop down to the store right here, I have one of these purchased, the bigger one right here, hooked up to this piece of equipment here. So it's hooked up. So what do you have to do? Well, we need to put seeds in this. So there's a couple ways to go about getting this filled with seeds. We can go into the store. We can buy either pallets of seeds here, bags of seeds here, or again, we have a pallet of seeds down here. Now, alternatively, after you've actually done your first harvest of potatoes, and I recommend this because it will save you a lot of money, is you can put potatoes from the previous harvest into this seeder here by just using a front loader, telehandler bucket to dump them into the top, or a conveyor belt, or any number of ways to move materials into it. So you can use those to actually plant your next round of potatoes. And I recommend doing that if you're going to do potatoes regularly, because it saves you a lot of money on seed, because seed is a little expensive if you're using it to plant potatoes. But you can, if you want to do that, you can just use seed, and you will have to the first time going around it. Or you can use a multi-buy station of some kind and buy that, but that's a mod, and we're not going to go into all the mods and different stuff. But anyhow, we hop into this. How do we fill this up? Well, if we open the upper left-hand corner, we're going to pull up next to these seed pallets here, and we'll see an R up there for refill planter. It ought to refill it. It puts potatoes in there anyways. It's the only thing this thing will plant is potatoes. So we'll go ahead and put these pallets in here real quick. And actually, it doesn't even matter. We don't need to put all of them in there, but we have 2,000 liters, so 2 pallets in there. Now we're going to start driving out towards the field. Now, as we're driving out there, one thing we have to do is unfold our planter. So I'm going to hit X to unfold it. Let it start working on that while we are driving out to the field. So we'll head out this way while it's unfolding. And then we need to go ahead and plant. And now I will also talk about seasons in this as well. So this will cover seasons, and if you're playing with seasons or without seasons. So if you are playing with seasons, which we are not currently, but if you are, we'll need to go down here. We'll turn it on real quick so you can see it. If we have seasonal growth turned to on, which by the way, if you have it set to pause, nothing will grow. So make sure that's either to a yes or no here. So if I have seasonal growth to yes, I go up to the seasonal calendar here. I need to find potatoes. I can only plant them in March and April. So make sure it's March and April when you're planting them. It won't even really let you plant them outside of that. So you have to plant in March and April if you're playing with seasons turned on. Now we're going to go back down here and turn that to no, so that we were not running with seasons on. And now if you do have this set to 1 day months right here, 1 day months, potatoes will take, look at my list here, it will take 5 months to grow. So if you have this set to 1 day per month, it'll only take 5 in-game days to grow. If you have this set to 2 days, it'll take 10 for them to grow. Now, to go ahead and plant potatoes, just pull up to the field, V to lower down the planter, and B to turn it on. And there we go. Actually, this one you don't even have to turn on. That's my bad. You don't even have to turn this bad boy on. Just lower it down. But there you go. We are planting potatoes. That is the texture to get, and I love the way that looks in the new game. It definitely looks 3D, which is absolutely incredible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just plant this field with some potatoes here. Now you can, if you notice down there bottom right hand corner, it's not taking any seed away right now since I've hired a worker. That's because if I go into here, I have helper refill seeds turned to buy. I would leave this as off if you're playing and trying to save money, because on buy, they actually charge you a pretty good markup. Usually it's around 150% of what the price would be for seeds in the store. So you're not paying way more money than you need to for seeds. Now, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see just how much they're billing me for the worker and the seeds itself. So very expensive. So I don't recommend doing that. But there you go. I'm going to go ahead and get this planted, and I'm going to bring you guys back in, and we will talk about the next step in the process. All right, so the next step you can skip if you have weeds turned off. So if you go into the menu down here, if you are playing with weeds turned to off, which we actually going to leave ours on off, but I'm still going to explain what you would do with weeds. If this is on off, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you're playing with weeds turned on, you need to take care of weeds as they arise. So you will get a 20% yield penalty if there are weeds in your field. There's two ways to get rid of weeds. So first off, you can use a mechanical weeder, which is found in the store. If you go over to here, go down to, where are they at in here? Right down here, weeders. One of these guys. If you catch the weeds in the earliest growth state, you can remove them by just driving over them with this. Make sure you use a tractor with narrow tires. That way it will not destroy your crops. The second way to get rid of them is if you use either a self-propelled sprayer like one of these, or you use one of the sprayers in here and you spray herbicide, which is that icon down there, which can be purchased in the store right here. So if you spray herbicide, that will kill the weeds off. Now, how do you know if you have weeds in the field? Well, you actually usually can see, but in case you want to make sure, we go up to the map here and we go over to, one more there. There we go, filters here. We turn everything else off except for this pink one. These fields have weeds. Ours does not have any weeds, but these ones, if they have that pink highlight on them or that pink overlay on them, they will have weeds in them. So you have to make sure you take care of that. But after that, the next thing we need to talk about, if you've taken care of weeds, is fertilizing, which you'll need to do this regardless. Well, you don't actually have to do this, but you'll want to do this, and I'll explain why. So you'll need to either apply liquid fertilizer, solid fertilizer, manure, or slurry on your field in order to get a couple of fertilizer states. So if I turn this off, we can see this blue. Ours is actually already double fertilized, which is that dark blue. But if we look down here, field 30, 31, 31 has one layer of fertilizer, 30 has two layers, and you can see 32 has none there. That's without an overlay on there. So you want to get both layers down. So how do you go about doing that? Well, you need to use either, again, solid, liquid, or manure or slurry. So you can use one of those things there. You can use any sort of fertilizer spreader. If we go in the store, you can buy fertilizer in here, such as solid fertilizer. You can also buy the liquid fertilizer in here, just like that. You can use these guys to spray liquid fertilizer. You can use these guys to spread solid fertilizer. If you have manure, you can use a manure spreader to spread manure, and you can use a slurry tank to spread slurry out and about. Well, those guys aren't tanks, but that guy right there too. Well, those are just tanks. That guy there will spread for you, and there's some other ones further on. But yeah, so those are the ways to spread that. Now, if you are spreading slurry or manure, you can do what's called a double application. It will use twice as much manure, but it will overall use the same amount of manure and allows you to only have to drive over the field once. So what I mean is you're doing basically two manure spreadings at the same time, or at the time it would take you to do one, because you're just going over the field once. And same thing with slurry. So you can do a double application with those if you needed two applications. So after you apply an application on this, you'll need to wait until it grows one growth state, which just wait until the next day, and then you'll be able to apply a second layer of fertilizer. But past that, after your fields are taken care of and squared away, all we have to do is wait for harvest, and I'll bring you guys back in when it is time for harvest. All right, so our potatoes are now ready to harvest. If we go into the map here, let me go over to this screen right here, you'll see a remove tops icon here, remove foliage icon over it. That means they're ready to harvest. Just like sugar beets, you have to remove the foliage first. So you either can do that by removing it with this bad boy here, and then using a pull behind harvester like this one to harvest it, or you can use this guy right here, which will do all of it at the same time. Now, I did notice, I would recommend putting some narrow wheels on here. I did notice when I was testing this out that this guy with the wide tires on here seemed to destroy the potatoes, even though the tops were removed from them. So it seems to be something that it should not do. I could be wrong about that, but it did not do that in 19, and I don't believe it's supposed to do that after you remove the foliage on them. So just be aware of that. But we're going to go ahead and get these guys harvested. So if we hop in this guy right here, this guy's all unfolded for us. Now, it's a very narrow header, so that's why it does take quite a while to harvest, though you will get quite a few potatoes. Down in the bottom right hand corner is our capacity, how much we have there. V to lower it down, B to turn it on. If I start driving forward, it is harvesting. It does take a little while for it to register the capacity, but if we just take a look at what we've done so far, we'll let it get in there. Now it's filling up. It's getting it. You can see it kind of going through the machine and getting filled up into the back there. You can see we got 705 liters in just that little strip of land right there. So you will get quite a bit. Now you can hit O to put the pipe out, and you can unload these into any trailer. Trailers that'll work for them, anything that has the potato icon on it, which is most bulk trailers here. Now, another thing to note too, just so we can take a look at it, under potato technology, there's your harvester, $599,000 to buy. And then if we go under here, under potato technology, here's your halum top remover. That's the harvester we have out. Then there's this one here as well. So there's a couple different options. They both have the same capacity and same price. So it just kind of depends on what brand you want to use, really. I believe they're the same, yeah, same working width and everything like that. Very narrow, but there you go. So that is how to harvest potatoes. Now, what do you do after you harvest potatoes? Well, you can bring them to a sell point. So if we take a look in the menu here, we can find where potatoes are being sold at, and we can sell them to these various prices here, or these various locations here. Or what we can do is we can actually store them. And now you can do this without mods on maps that have trains. So if we go to our map here, the train silos down here, the train silos will actually hold potatoes for you. It kind of works as a free silo. So you can load them into the train and sell them elsewhere, but you can put them in there and take them out temporarily if you'd like to. So you can do that with your potatoes. So you can actually store them in base game without any mods on all platforms, but there you go. And of course, there's multi-fruit mods out there for you as well. But anyhow, guys, that's what I have for you. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching.